Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second installment of the Rollout Show. I am your host, Weston Riddle, and I'm joined by my co host.
You're not going to introduce me. I have to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Bradley.
I mean, I figured you'd want to introduce yourself, but you left me hanging like I was falling off a cliff there, but okay, that's fine.
Well, who introduces somebody? Hi, I'm Weston, and this is.
I mean, I did get points off for like one of the biggest projects in my college career for not doing that, so I mean, I've kind of been scarred.
Yeah, your college was wrong.
Hey, so that's what we thought as well, but hey, you know what? You live and you learn, right? My
Sure.
3.8 GPA because of that. Anyway, we are back for installment number two of the Rollout Show. We had a slight delay. I kind of had to have surgery and got my abdomen hacked up into pieces. But you know what? We're good now.
Good
Getting healed
timing.
up.
Great job. Good timing.
Yeah, thanks, man.
After the first show, we have to push it back a week because your
Hey,
poor abdomen can't stay together.
you know what? I've had this since birth, okay? My surgeon was like, wow, I'm shocked you were able to live this long with this issue. Like, she literally said that, and I was like, you know what? It hasn't been easy, but it's just one of those things that's like you're sitting in the car, and then all of a sudden your abdomen is trying to kill you. And you're like, wow, I should probably get this fixed. And then two
Yeah.
years later, I decided to get it fixed. So here we are.
Well, I'm
After
glad you're feeling better.
Thanks, man. It was just misdiagnosed a few times, but that's okay. I won't, rub any dirt into the wound or anything or throw anybody under the bus, but that's all right. Thanks for backing me up on that. Anyway, all right, let's get started with actual real sports talk instead of this medical mumbo jumbo. Um, so we should talk about the trade deadline.
It was a pretty good trade
The
deadline. Better than recent years, I feel like.
Yeah, there was the one huge trade that kind of blindsided everybody. But I mean, you know what? That's what you got to do if you're the Sacramento Kings. I mean, you get a better offer 2 days prior. You wait, the offer's no longer on the table, and then you're like, well, guess we got to take what we can get.
Are they the worst run franchise in sports?
There's a few teams that give them a run for their money. I mean, you have to think. The Marlins at certain
Yeah,
points
yeah.
have kind of mismanaged. They've had some great success out of it though. They've won two World Series for a relatively newer franchise. That's pretty great. It's just not the strategy everyone would take. You know, the fire sale after you win to just try to rebuild everything. But I mean, Sacramento right now is looking pretty good of holding that title. At
I mean, you have the
least,
Knicks. You have the Knicks. You
yeah.
have the 49ers, the Rams.
The Rams are pretty poor. I will admit that. Rams are terrible, terribly run franchise.
Anyway, uh, back to the NBA trade deadline. This week, let's try and not go off on half an hour of tangents so we can actually fit all of our topics into the show.
I mean, yeah, but those tangents were great.
DeMarcus Cousins. Did the Kings get robbed? Yes or no?
Oh yes, the Kings got robbed, except they don't think in their minds they got robbed. Apparently
Because they think
they're
Buddy Hield's the next Steph Curry.
right. They're in love with Buddy Heald, and that's everything you heard out of the draft that they were going to get Buddy Heald.
But isn't he
And
already like 24?
he's 23, so he's a little bit
He's
older. He came to the
he's
states older.
basically fully developed in his prime. That's he's got I mean maybe 2 more years of quote unquote developing to do, but his age he should be at his prime, his apex, and he just got started and he's not that good.
Yeah, I think you have to give him time though because the Pelicans, they honestly they're not a good team. I mean, they're much better. The outlook's so much better now with Boogie Cousins than they were beforehand, but a lot of the people on that Pelicans team were playing terribly. And he's a rookie, so you have to give him time to adjust because he really didn't burst onto the scene until his, junior, senior year in college. That's why Buddy's a little bit older because it took him longer to come over to the US, and then also he stayed in college 4 years for the extra development. So he should be more developed, but it's going to take some time. I mean, you have guys, speaking of the Sacramento Kings, you have guys like Hassan Whiteside who were drafted by the Kings, let go, bounced around a while, and then kind of developed later. So you have to give him time, but the age is kind of a worrying factor because he is a little bit older. He's only 3 years younger than Boogie, but I mean, if the Kings organization believes in Buddy Hield that much, then I mean, I guess you can't fault them for going to get their guy, but
But Boogie's the best offensive big man in the game. Maybe second if you want to put Anthony Davis above him, but I wouldn't. He's the best offensive big man in the game, and you gave him away for Buddy Hield. Essentially, that's it. That's all they got. That's ridiculous.
Buddy Hield a first and a couple of expiring contracts.
It's a late lottery pick though, correct?
Well, it's top three protected, so I guess the Kings are banking on the Pelicans not getting the 8 seed, which I don't really think they will.
They won't.
I think Denver or Portland's going to end up with the 8 seed, so they'll still have a pretty high pick. Just depends on where it falls in the lottery. So at least it's not going to be like a 25th pick in the draft or something like that.
But they're not going to draft Boogie Cousins.
No, probably not, but you have to give them credit. They have drafted Hassan Whiteside, Isaiah Thomas in the second round.
And then let them both walk. Good job,
Yeah,
Kings.
hey,
you really deserve a pat on the back for that one.
You
Great
have to give
work.
them some credit for finding some diamonds in the rough, even if they manage them very poorly.
They obviously didn't think they were diamonds though, because they let them go.
Yeah,
I would call that more blind luck. And then, so that you pick a random guy in the second, think he's not good, and you let him go. They've done it too many times for that not to be the case.
well, I think I heard something today in the recent drafts that they've drafted like all these people who are like not stars in the league, but are starters in the league and pretty good players, and that the Kings just let them walk or traded them for nothing. And I won't fault this ownership group for this because the Kings have been mismanaged for a while, lacked a clear direction. They still don't necessarily look like they have a clear direction, but at least they had different ownership during some of those mistakes with Isaiah Thomas and Hassan Whiteside. It was under a different ownership and a different GM. So I guess we have to give them some credit with that, but
yeah, that's fair.
It's just been a mismanaged franchise from two ownership groups ago, from the ownership group in the middle, and from this ownership group. I mean, the only thing you can say is that they have a really nice new arena, apparently. But other than that, that's about it.
Also, to be fair to the Kings, it's pretty clear that the DeMarcus Cousins thing wasn't gonna work. It wasn't gonna work. I don't know why. I don't know if it's Boogie's fault. I don't know if it's the Kings' fault. I guess we'll find out if the Pelicans implode. If it was Boogie's fault, it's hard to tell, but they obviously felt like they needed a change. They haven't been able to do any winning, even with a talent like Boogie. So it's tough to blame them. I just feel like they could have gotten more, especially if they'd waited a couple days. I just said waiting. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, you said waiting. Nice, dude.
Waiting.
We're really going southern here.
All right, that's enough.
Yeah, I know. But if they had waited a few days, and if they actually went to Boogie and said, "Hey, we're kind of looking to move you," and had drawn up some interests, I'm pretty sure they would have gotten a better deal.
Well, the Celtics were looking for a big man, weren't they? I could have seen the Celtics offering the Nets pick and Marcus Smart, which
maybe
that's a top 3 lottery pick, and a starter.
Maybe because I've been hearing different stuff about the Celtics because I heard one report today saying that they had a line in the sand drawn with the Jimmy Butler trade talks and with the Paul George trade talks that they just weren't willing to cross. So I have a feeling they were really holding on to those picks, and they were either wanting to. It was going to be an either or situation. Like you weren't for Jimmy Butler, you weren't going to get Crowder, Marcus Smart, and one of the Nets picks. It was going to be like you're either getting Marcus Smart and the Nets pick, or you're getting Jay Crowder and the Nets pick. So I mean, I don't know if they would have offered all that for Boogie because apparently they're really afraid of offering that for Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy
Yeah,
Butler
how do you
signed for
feel
five
about
years.
that? How do you feel about that's ridiculous? You, if I'm the Celtics, I give up what needs to be given up for Jimmy Butler. The only way you're going to have a chance in the East, unless you're just waiting for LeBron to get old in 2 to 3 years, the only way you have a chance is to get another superstar. I could see a team of Al Horford, Isaiah Thomas, even though he sucks on defense, and Jimmy Butler competing with the Cavs. I could see that being a 7 game series that they would have a
Oh yeah.
shot in.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that completely changes the East. It's just
So what's the point of
apparently,
stockpiling all these assets if you're not going to spend them?
well,
There's
you're gonna end up becoming the Atlanta Hawks, is what you're
well,
gonna
there you
become.
go.
You're just gonna be stuck in being the 3 to 6 seed every year. I mean, that's just what it's gonna be.
The
They're
Celtics are
apparently
good. They've got good young talent,
they
but
do. They're just
and they had
unwilling
a
to spend it.
shot to win this year with either Paul George or Jimmy Butler. Either one, I don't care. They're both really, really good elite level wing players, which is what the Celtics need right now.
Exactly. Apparently, they're just so set on those Nets picks and all their young talent. But the thing is, they're not going to be able to keep everybody. So getting somebody like a Jimmy Butler who is on a more affordable contract, if he was actually available, I mean, you can't tell me that's not appealing because Jimmy Butler, Isaiah Thomas, Al Horford, and then everybody else who makes up the rest of that roster, like it just depends on who they gave up, but I
Well,
mean that's
the league is run by guards right now,
right.
and a backcourt of Isaiah Thomas and Jimmy Butler can carry you for another 5 to 7 years.
Exactly, because you can't just have Isaiah Thomas being your go-to guy in every situation because in the playoffs that's going to be more difficult because
Oh,
you're
when
going
you're
to
playing teams with better defenses. In
oh
the
yeah,
regular season, you're playing every team, a large portion of which have crappy defenses. Most of the teams that make the playoffs, especially in the later rounds, have really good defenses. We talk a lot about the Warriors' offense, but their defense is a large reason why they've been in the finals the last few years.
oh yeah, like I mean I don't even think honestly, I don't even think the Celtics will get past the Raptors. I mean, much less the Cavs.
What a nice transition you just made.
Oh, thanks, man. It's what I'm here for.
Okay. Well, now do your host thing.
So
Why
now,
would the Raptors be a good transition? What was another trade?
aha. Now, woo, I'm good at
Excellent
this.
work.
I'm good at this.
I need
Oof.
to find a new host for
Don't.
my show.
I'm a little rusty, okay? It's all the medication, all right? Oh goodness. All right. Anyway, so the Toronto Raptors,
Mhm.
they made a couple moves at the trade deadline. First off was acquiring PJ Tucker from the Suns and getting rid of Jaron Sulliger's contract, which is a pretty good deal because Sullinger, they had high hopes for him, but he's been injured all season and he wasn't really doing anything once he played.
It's a smart move. It's a smart
Yeah,
move.
because I mean PJ Tucker, he helps you especially defensively. And I mean, what was he doing on the Suns? I mean, the Suns aren't going anywhere right now. He's not part of the long-term plans, so hey, just get a little something for him and move on. But you also make the big move. PJ Tucker will help you defensively, helps you in the playoffs, and you're going to try to re sign him long term. And you also have a couple other guys who are coming up on contract years. So you decide to make the big splash before the trade deadline and everything. The trade for Serge Ibaka, which I love that move for Toronto's aspects. You trade for Serge Ibaka, you get him, and you trade away Terrence Ross and a first round pick.
Are the Magic just in constant rebuild mode now? They're every year they make a bad trade.
See, they have a little bit of the Sacramento Kings syndrome and a little bit of the Boston Celtics, except just not as successful as the Celtics. What has really happened with the Magic is they stockpiled all these assets and felt like they were continually rebuilding. And when some of the assets didn't get enough time, so you have a guy like Mo Harkless or something, and Victor Oladipo, who it didn't seem like they're making the next step, so you decide to trade them off and get a more veteran presence, and it's just a lack of a clear direction. So you end up,
Why are you getting a veteran presence though? It's not like you're going to win. At the time of that trade, what were they? The 10th seed, the 11th seed? And you're not going to beat Cleveland, you're not going to beat the Celtics. You weren't going to beat the Heat last year. So I don't understand their logic of we have let's take Oladipo. I'm a pretty big Oladipo fan. I think he's a great young player. Maybe great's an overstatement. Um, but you have a young developing player and you trade him away for Serge Ibaka, who is not necessarily aging, but on the back half of his prime,
yeah.
who isn't a star player, coming into a
Well,
situation where you aren't going to win. He's not a number one, is what I mean. The Magic have no number one. If you're going to make a move like that, I mean, Serge Ibaka instantly becomes the most talented person on that team, but who cares? You're not a team that's going to win. So what's the point of giving up an asset for a guy? What are you trying to do? Bring a winning culture to the Magic by making the playoffs at the 8 seed and getting swept in 4 games by the Cavs? Was that their plan?
I
It's a
mean,
pretty stupid plan.
I think what they had, because I attribute a lot of this to what happened last year. They fired 2 years ago. They fired Jock Vaughn and then decided to bring in Scott Skiles because he was a former Magic player, and he had a good coaching history of like developing young talent and everything. So they decided to bring him in, and the Magic start winning some games. They definitely improved over the Jock Vaughn years. Those were pretty terrible, but he decides because he wants to have his guys in there. So you trade for a guy like Brandon Jennings and Ursan Ilyasova, and these guys are more veteran guys who are on shorter term contracts. And you trade away young talent for them. And then all of a sudden this offseason comes around and Scott Skiles is upset about something and just resigns out of nowhere. So now you have a guy like Brandon Jennings, who you're not going to re-sign because he's not your point guard of the future, and you have really no point in keeping him. And you have to scramble to find a new coach, and luckily you get Frank Vogel, which I think was a great hire. But now,
Oh, I do too. I'm a big Frank
oh
Vogel
yeah,
guy. I think he's a good coach.
and like you've had the same. Frank Vogel's a great coach, but you also have a coach that is coming in. He's been a winner every year at Indiana. He's gotten the most out of his teams up there. And the Magic just missed the playoffs last year. They weren't that far out of it. I mean, they would have gotten swept by whatever team they faced in the playoffs, but a lot of people thought the Magic were on the cusp. So you bring in Frank Vogel, and all that changes. And you think, oh wow, the Magic are really your playoff contender here. Bring in Frank Vogel and make a couple of moves. So you're on your third coach in 3 years, and each one of them had different opinions of the players. And Scott Skiles apparently really didn't like the young players on the roster, so he wanted to get a lot of them off the roster. So you made a couple bad trades there, and then you kind of reverse course, and then try to bring in guys that Frank Vogel is going to want. And now you're just kind of stuck in this limbo because you've had all these tradable assets and young players, and you've traded them away because you didn't have enough playing time for them, or you didn't think they were going to be stars, and all of a sudden they've turned into productive rotation players for different teams.
Then why trade away Serge Ibaka then? Why not keep him in the hopes that maybe in the next 3 years with Frank Vogel, you'll have a decent young squad that Serge Ibaka could be the veteran anchor of? Why trade him away for a bad first round pick and Terrence Ross?
See, that was the thing that was happening this year. That's what they thought they were getting with Serge Ibaka when they traded for him. And I think the Magic had a couple other free agent deals in the works that fell through. So what you ended up with, the big things were Ibaka and Bismack Biyombo. So that's not bad right there, but they thought Ibaka was going to lead this team, be more of a scoring threat, which is what he wanted to be, because in Oklahoma City they saw him as the defensive guy and the enforcer, and he really wanted to blossom into a star and score and shoot threes and just be an all-around player, which is what he was in Orlando. Offensively, he averaged the best points per game of his career, most threes he's made in his career, all of that. He was really great offensively, but his defense lagged. And this team was supposed to be built differently than most of the other teams in the league because it was going to be built solely on defense and strong play in the paint, and Ibaka was going to be the veteran presence and the leadership, but it just didn't work out. Ibaka didn't.
Well, it didn't work out because they don't have
They
guards.
don't really.
Didn't work out because even if you want to go with the Twin Towers approach, in this league you have to have great guard play, and the Magic don't have any great guards.
Well, you have Evan Fournier. He's not.
He's not a great guard. He's decent. He's not great.
He's not.
Don't even
He's not
try.
James Harden or anything, but Evan Fournier is a really good player. He gets overshadowed a lot. You have to give Fournier some of his due. He's a pretty good player.
Fournier or Bradley Beal?
I'm probably going Bradley Beal.
Okay.
But if you
Fournier's not an all-star.
No, he's not an all.
He's not even close
Bradley
to. He
Beal's
didn't.
not
Did
an
he even get
all-star
all-star
either.
votes?
Bradley Beal
Well,
didn't make
he
the
has been
all-star team.
before.
I mean,
All right then. You're making my point. Fournier's not as good as a non-all-star too.
Well, yeah, but when you also look at the difference, Fournier's making $85 million and Bradley Beal's making $120.
You can afford to pay players now.
I mean, you can't afford to pay everybody. But I mean, Fournier, for what he is, he's a really good player. He's really underrated in the league.
I'd rather have Bradley Beal at 120 than Fournier at 85.
Well, that's how me and you would just, build a roster differently then. But anyway, back to my point.
Sorry, sir.
Serge Ibaka was kind of brought in to be that veteran presence. He was excited to be in Orlando. He said he wants to commit long term, but seeing this team almost every day, you started to get the sense that the locker room chemistry just was not working. And Serge Ibaka has never lost this much in his career, and you could tell he was not meshing with Aaron Gordon, Elfrid Payton. It didn't even seem like he was getting along with Bismack Biyombo. It kind of seemed like it was the Serge Ibaka show, and everybody else kind of get out of my way. And he just honestly seemed like he disconnected with the entire team. Now in Toronto, I think it's going to be completely different because of
Well, they're going to be winning.
they're going to be winning.
So he'll be happy.
He's going to be happier.
Winning fixes everything.
And also you have the more veteran presence on that team. You have Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, DeMar Carroll and Jonas Valanciunas. I mean, that's tailor-made for Serge Ibaka. That's an awesome move for Toronto. But I think it's also a great move for the Magic because Serge wasn't going to re-sign. And if he was going to re-sign, it was going to be for a lot of money, and he wasn't even going to be happy there. So you might as well get a younger guard who's athletic, can shoot threes, who wants to blossom into a star with a bigger role. So you get Terrence Ross. You can move Fournier to play a little bit of the three. You can have Terrence Ross play the two or the three. Then you move Aaron Gordon back to the four where he should have been all along. And then you have Bismack Biyombo and Vucevic, playing center, and you can see. Hopefully, you get a high draft pick, so you can draft another point guard, and then you can have Elfrid Payton be your point guard coming off the bench.
I just feel like this happens every year. It's always the same story. The Magic trade away an asset for nothing every year.
See, I mean, it basically has amounted to that, but I mean, a lot of teams are in that situation. It's sad to see because there's a lot of talent that has come and gone in Orlando, but that's just how it goes sometimes. I mean, look at all the people New Orleans has had over the years. I mean, outside of Anthony Davis, he's the ones that stayed, and now they have Boogie Cousins, who says he's committed to staying. But you have teams like that. You have teams like the Nuggets, who've had a lot of great players over the years, just come and go.
I don't really have anything to add to that.
Honestly, I kind of blanked for a second, and I just threw out two teams that are like solidly mediocre who have let a lot of people go. So that's
The Hawks,
the Hawks.
The
I
Hawks,
mean,
they're pretty mediocre.
I mean, you have to look at
Uh,
the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, have you? I mean, they let Mozgov go. I mean,
how could they?
doofuses.
Oh, speaking of which, Andrew Bogut can sign with either the Warriors or the Cavs. Who's he signing with?
Ooh, that is tough. Part of me wants to think. I think he may go to the Cavs. I mean, the entertainment factor. I think he would go to the Cavs because
I think he would too. I think he
I
would
think
too.
he's a little upset that they brought in KD because he was the most vocal, even though the rumors were going through in the playoffs while they're playing Kevin Durant. They're like, he was the most vocal against that move because he knew what was coming down the line, that he was going to be the one getting kicked to the curb. So I think,
Which I don't think Bogut's very good, but he was very good on that team. If Bogut stays healthy, they win that series in six.
oh yeah, like Bogut was crucial to that team because he brought the interior presence, and I think he is better at that than Pachulia, but
Yeah, I think Bogut's better than Zaza for
I
sure.
mean, he's there for rebounding and he's there for defense. I mean, that's
But Bogut's a good passer too.
oh yeah, and he's a good passer. He never blossomed into that all-around superstar that when he was picked up by Milwaukee and everything that people thought he was going to be. But he carved out a nice career in the league. So I think the competitor in him would join the Cavs just so he'd have a chance to beat them up.
It would be interesting though if he were come with me on this hypothetical journey.
Okay.
The Warriors re-sign Bogut in well, not in response. After that, they waive Pachulia because they don't need him anymore. They have Bogut back. And then Pachulia signs with the Cavs. Okay. So then, I don't know where I was going with this, but I think that would be entertaining.
I'm not gonna lie to you, that'd be pretty entertaining, but only if somehow you'd have to get Anderson Varejao worked into this equation somehow, because I mean
Didn't they waive him? Isn't he
he's
gone?
gone. So there was some talk. There
Finally.
was some.
Finally. He's so terrible.
He's not great, man.
He's
but
so
he may go
bad.
back to the Cavs. So it's funny because
Oh my
last year
god.
he was on the Cavs, got traded to Portland, and then Portland immediately waived him, and then he signs for nothing in Golden State. So, and then now he gets basically cut by Golden State and may re-sign in Cleveland. They didn't. They didn't necessarily say that Varejao was Plan A or anything, but I mean they didn't close the door on him returning. But wouldn't the funniest thing be is if Varejao was on the Cavs, they lost to the Warriors. He joins the Warriors, they lose to the Cavs. He joins the Cavs, they lose to the Warriors. That Anderson
That would be
Varejao is just the
funny.
kiss of death for every team.
Never sign Varejao again.
Never sign Varejao. Never pick him up after he's bought out by whatever team he signs with, and they decide, oh wow, he's really terrible. Why are we paying him $11 million? Just go away. That's what.
Were there?
That's Varejao.
Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
that's just
Okay.
that's Varejao's future right there.
That's Varejao.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Were there any other really interesting trades? I know Nerlens Noel.
I love that move for
that was
Dallas.
a pretty big one. I do
I
too.
mean, because I saw Nerlens Noel play against the Magic the other night, and I mean, he's got a lot of intensity to him, but it was kind of surprising to see how athletic he was and how good he actually was. I mean, he's not.
I'm surprised they gave him up over Okafor.
Yeah, and then they're talking about still working out a trade for Okafor, which I'm kind of wondering if the Sixers are getting a little antsy because they made some questionable trades, I think. That Bogut trade was a little questionable, and trading Nerlens Noel, but I guess they really didn't want to pay him in restricted free agency, which Dallas probably was going to offer him a lot of money anyway to try to get him to Dallas, so you might as well trade him now where you get the rights to match.
Yeah, he didn't seem happy, but
Yeah,
still.
but if you trade away everybody you've built up, I mean, I guess it really depends on what they get for Okafor, but if you
You can't have a team of just Joel Embiid,
no, you
as
can't.
great as he is.
Because then, what have you been trusting the process for over the past few years? Because you'll end up with just Embiid, who has a laundry list of injuries. So you're going to need a solid backup center. I love Joel Embiid. I love his game, and I'm glad we're finally getting to see it. But I mean, he's injured right now.
Anderson Varejao.
Dude, that's a guy you build around. I know, like 2 seconds ago, I said that he was basically trash, but honestly, I think he's the savior of the Sixers.
Greatest backup center in the league.
I mean, honestly. You used to talk about the Polish hammer behind Dwight Howard on those Magic teams as being the best backup center in the league, but
He was, to be fair.
Yeah, he was.
At the time, he definitely was.
Gortat.
He had starter written all over him.
Gortat's amazing.
He was a big reason those Magic teams were so good.
I mean, he was, and he was so overshadowed, which is just...
When I feel like Dwight didn't have to play as many minutes as he normally would have because when he sat down, they lost almost nothing on both ends of the court.
And that's just amazing. That's, again, speaking to all the talent that has walked in and out of the door in Orlando over the years. But, I mean, you can't keep everybody.
I mean, hopefully at some point they can keep someone, though.
Yeah, I mean, right now, speaking of Dwight, they do seem to be the clear winners of that trade. At least right now. They stockpiled the most pieces from that trade. Have they done much with them? Not really, but
No.
at least they didn't have to dumpster dive like the Sixers, and at least they aren't the mess that the Lakers are right now.
Yeah, but the Lakers have Magic Johnson. Transition. Take it away, host.
Sorry, I'm still in awe about that Magic Johnson hire. I mean,
Pretty great, huh?
you
like it?
dude, Jimmer Fredette is going to be on the Los
We should have
Angeles
We should have
Lakers.
prepared a list of Magic Johnson tweets. We really should have. Oh, why didn't we think about this before
We
the
really
show?
should have done that before the show. That's poor planning on our parts.
So seriously, though, what do you think about the hire?
I mean, I kind of get it because they needed to change something there, but it's going to look...
What's the flashy hire?
Oh, absolutely, and...
It's Irving Magic Johnson. Okay, Stephen
Shout
A.
out to Stephen A. I gotta give him some credit.
Except you have to really yell, because he really yelled.
Ah!
That was
Irving!
horrible.
It does hurt for me to
You know what? You did just have a breathing tube in from surgery.
Yeah.
That's my bad.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, America. Anyway.
You think America's listening to this?
I mean, it's probably a solid group of our 5 friends, or 5 friends that say they're actually listening to this, but then it's actually just 5 random people. But our friends are getting by because we have like 5 listeners.
Our friends just download it and delete it. They don't even listen.
Yeah, that's probably true. It's probably because we don't...
Anyway.
Yes, Irvin Magic Johnson.
Too many tangents.
That's right.
Irving Magic Johnson.
I mean, it's the splashy hire, and honestly, whatever he does is going to be beloved by the Lakers fans because it's Magic Johnson, and it buys them some time to at least try to build this thing. But he's inheriting a good coach because they made some good moves over the past couple of years. I mean, I like the Brandon Ingram pick. I like D'Angelo Russell. I think he's got a lot of potential. And Jordan
Agreed.
Clarkson, I like him. Mozgov, that's kind of iffy. And Luol Deng is, I think, a much worse signing than Mozgov because the Lakers offered him 20 million more than any other team offered Luol Deng. He was about to re-sign for 4 and 54, and then the Lakers come in with 4 and 72. I mean, so that wasn't a
I
great
think
move.
one a lot of people have compared this hire to Phil Jackson's hire, um, because with the Phil Jackson hire, you just assume, hey, big name free agents are going to want to come play here now. And I think there's a couple differences, which make me more pro Magic Johnson hire than Phil Jackson hire. For one, Magic Johnson seems like he actually cares about this job.
Yeah,
Um, Two, Phil Jackson was a great coach, but he's not a great personality. He's not great at. He was never a recruiter. I mean, he just did things.
he always
Well, I guess you could say he
he
sort of
kind of
recruited
was
Shaq.
he kind of was a great recruiter in the fact that he had a great resume, but other than that, he was just really good at managing a lot of different personalities.
Right. But then you have Magic, who is like the most lovable guy on the planet. And I can see free agents like, say, a Russell Westbrook, who's a free agent in 2018, wanting to play for Magic Johnson's organization. And that part of the hire could definitely be a good thing. I don't know how he's going to be with actual day-to-day basketball operations that he has no idea what he's doing. You just have to hope he hires the right people who do know what they're doing, considering he said himself he doesn't even know how the salary cap works.
Right.
But his presence alone, I'm torn because he's not qualified for this job
No,
at all.
honestly, and that's just the facts of it. Because I mean, he hasn't worked in any kind of role like this. You can say, yeah, he has the business success, which he does, and
But he's in charge of basketball
it's
operations.
completely
He's not
different.
in charge of the business. Jeannie Buss is in charge of the business. He's basically taking over Jim Buss's old job, which was basketball operations.
And to
And
give Magic credit, Jim Buss didn't have any experience either. But at the same time, I mean, are you just gonna get more of the same, but just with a nicer name because it's Magic Johnson and not Jim Buss?
well, and even if it's more of the same, at least you have Magic to recruit for you. At least you have Magic to help bring people into the stands, even if it's just to see Magic Johnson in the crowd waving.
I mean,
I mean, it brings a little bit of flair back to LA, which is partly, I'm sure, what they were looking for with this
I
hire.
think that
Um,
is definitely what they were looking for.
but you can tell he cares. He wants this to be a success, which I think is the reason Phil Jackson is failing. I think that's the number one thing you need. Phil Jackson doesn't care. Phil Jackson, until I think this season, was always in LA.
Oh,
This season, I think he's spending more time in New York. But before, he's just in LA. He's not even in New York.
well,
So he obviously doesn't care. And now reports come out that we talked about this last show about how he doesn't even want to be there. You know, Magic wants to be in charge of the Lakers. He went from consultant basically to president of basketball operations in a week.
I think it's funny that the first meeting he had with Jim Buss, Mitch Kupchak, Jeannie Buss, and himself, he ends up getting Jim Buss out of his role. Kupchak is fired, and he's in charge of everything. But like,
I kind of think he should have kept Kupchak.
I kind of think he should have too, as at least
He's a good
he
GM
really is. He knows.
who knows what he's doing and really could have helped Magic at least the beginning transition.
Right.
And then if you wanted to bring the agent, I don't
Rob
remember his name.
Palinka.
If you wanted to bring him in as more of like an advisory role, give him, I don't know, an assistant GM job, then fine. I'm sure you could have found a position for him and left Mick Kupchak in place as an advisor who knows the franchise. I think that would have been a good idea. But time will tell. We'll see. I think the big test is going to be when we start having free agents like Russell Westbrook, like Paul George. Do they go to LA or not? And if they don't, this hire was probably a failure unless he surprises us all and turns into the surprise that John Elway was.
And the surprise that John Lynch is gonna be, but that's for another time.
All right. No. Wait. You bring up an interesting topic.
Yeah.
If you had to put your money on Magic Johnson's success or John Lynch's success, who do you give your support to?
That is tough.
Is it really that tough though?
I mean, because part of me wants to say John Lynch to just kind of be the dissenting opinion, but because John Lynch is starting with really a clean slate because the Niners have so much cap room, it's absurd. And they're starting with
the Lakers have so much cap room. They aren't paying anybody max.
Well, they're paying a lot to Mozgov and Dang.
They're short-term deal. Well, Dang's kind of long.
Well, they're both 4 years.
The Mozgov one's a short-term deal.
No, they're both 4 years.
Is
it?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they're.
What are you doing, Mitch Kupchak?
That may have been why he got canned.
Good thing you're fired.
Yeah, that's probably why he got canned. But the thing is, like, it's all dependent on whether Brandon Ingram and D'Angelo Russell develop, because those are two potential stars there.
Well, and if you have another top 3 pick this year.
Exactly, and that's
which
the thing.
Prospect are you taking Ball? Do you think he's going to be better than Steph Curry like his dad thinks?
I mean, and see, here's the one thing about Magic Johnson. You brought up the point about recruiting free agents. Magic has been on recruiting pitches to free agents for the past couple of years. Like, he was the main guy in the room trying to recruit LaMarcus Aldridge to LA, and LaMarcus Aldridge laughed at the presentation of the Lakers.
I think that might have had something to do with Kobe, though.
Part of it could have been Kobe, but, I mean, there's a reason he's in San Antonio, and it's not just because of the money. I mean...
No, it's because he wants to play for Pop.
Exactly, and he's from Texas.
He wants to play for the best organization in sports, arguably.
Right.
At least top 2.
Exactly. I mean, he was either going to stay in Portland and stay with Damian Lillard, or he was going to go to San Antonio, and he chose San Antonio. The Lakers kept being rumored, and the Lakers were upset that people weren't wanting to meet with them and weren't wanting to meet with Magic and come to LA because they're just pitching the tradition and the history.
But Magic wasn't in charge then.
He wasn't.
What's Magic gonna pitch?
I mean,
if you're not even part, yeah, but now he can pitch. I'm in charge. I'm the greatest point guard of all time. Let's get this done, which may not work, obviously, and that may have been what Phil Jackson tried at first, and it didn't work, and that's why he's so defeated now.
Honestly,
only time will tell.
Honestly, you want to know the funny thing here? Is if Phil hadn't taken the Knicks job, he's probably being introduced as president of basketball operations this week of the Los Angeles Lakers.
But even that, he might be better, because I feel like the Lakers, he'd actually care.
I mean, he would probably care more, but you would still have some of the issues, because the reports are out today that a lot of teams tried to reach out to the Knicks and gauge interest in different players, and they couldn't reach Phil, so they just moved on. Like, I mean, if you're not picking, like, at the trade deadline, you kind of have to set that time aside where it's just like, I'm going to be on the phone the entire time, working on different deals. You can't just be like, oh, Milwaukee's calling, reject. I'm watching a movie right now. I don't want to deal with this. Reject. Oh, Phoenix is calling? No. Like, I mean,
Atatenkumpo overrated.
yeah, that's probably one of Magic's tweets. Anyway,
All right. What else we got to talk about?
oh, and for the record, John Lynch is going to be better Magic.
No, I would put my money on Magic, just because I feel like Magic only has to convince one superstar, and the Lakers can win.
Yeah,
Football, it takes a lot more work
football it does
to
take a
turn
lot
the
more
team
work.
around, and that's the only reason why I would pick one over the other.
Yeah, I
I mean, look
agree.
at the 76ers. All it took was Joel Embiid finally being healthy, and they aren't garbage.
Yeah,
They're still pretty bad, but they aren't a laughing stock.
right, and it's made everybody else better.
Yep.
So, we've kind of touched a little bit on it, but the New York Knicks, what a mess they are.
hmm we talked about this for like 15 minutes last week. What about it? Or 2 weeks ago, not last
Yeah,
week.
2 weeks. Sorry, last week I was.
Their joke.
I mean,
Has has there been any breaking news?
basically what I already just said in that last segment. Now that
Did you forget that we've talking about the Knicks extensively so far?
I kind of forgotten that I'd already brought up the whole thing about Phil not
You know,
being
this is why
reached.
you follow the show notes. This is why you follow the show
I tried to get
notes.
them up.
Next topic,
All
sir.
right. So, our next topic here, the Mount Rushmore of active coaches.
Okay. So this is going to be a touchy subject.
Okay.
So I want us to be careful with this
All
one.
right.
The Yukon women, you probably know where I'm going with this
I
now.
think I do.
The Yukon women have won 102 straight games, which is ridiculous.
That's a great
And
record.
and Gino Auriemma is obviously the greatest women's college basketball coach of all time. But does the fact that he coaches women's college basketball hurt him in the fraternity of all-time coaching? Basically, my question is, who do you think are the top 4 active coaches, regardless of sport, right now?
Oof. That is a tough question. Well, Belichick.
I think there's 2 easy ones. In my opinion, there are 2 easy ones because of the degree of difficulty of winning in the sport and the sustained level of dominance. And that's Bill Belichick, because he's the greatest NFL coach of all time, and that's Nick Saban, because he's the greatest college coach of all time.
See,
College football coach of all time, that is.
see, I had three immediately come to mind. I thought of Belichick and
Popovich.
Popovich and Saban.
Yep.
I thought of those.
Those are my 3. And the 4th one is where I'm having difficulty, because
I don't think I'd go Gino though. I don't think I'd go.
I want to put Gino with
I would like
all
to,
of
but
my heart. I want to put Gino because he has been more dominant in his sport coaching than any other active coach in their sport.
yeah,
Period. That is
it's him
indisputable.
and Pat Summit are the two legends right now. Yeah,
But even Pat Summitt, her legacy is she's the second greatest women's coach of all time, and she's the reason that women's college basketball is even on the map.
oh yeah,
right now.
exactly.
She
was a
deserves
trailblazer.
enormous credit, but Gino is better than Pat Summitt in a purely coaching standpoint. Now, Gino's run is more dominant than anything we've seen since UCLA back in the 70s with Bill Walton and oh my gosh, who the heck was that coach?
John
They
Wooden.
named the trophy after him. There we go,
Wow.
Wooden, the Wooden Award. Good job, Brain. Okay,
Bradley.
so this is a level of dominance unlike anything we've seen in any sport since then. and I want to put Gino there, but I'm hesitant. And I don't know if it's because of an inherent lack of respect for women's sports. I don't know if it's because there aren't really that many great women's college teams in basketball. There's a few that they seem to roll over them every year.
Exactly.
So I'm having trouble with this one, and I've been wanting to talk about it for like a week and a half, and you haven't been here, and it's been festering inside of me. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's why are we hesitant to put him on the list? Do you think it's inherent gender bias? Do you think it's not to make the conversation super deep?
Yeah.
Do you think it's just a lack of respect for their level of competition? What do you think?
I think it's more of the level of competition argument for me,
Okay.
because I have supreme amount of respect for the UConn women's team. I mean, it's absurd, like what they've done. It's ridiculous, but it's
Right now, if I could put money down on them or the field for the title this year, I'd put it on them,
but see,
and I wouldn't think twice
see
about
you
it.
do that like every year, and I know this
Yep.
year they've made a big case out of, oh, you didn't have the top recruits this year, and everything like that, but all the other years, I mean, there was one year where everybody, I think the top 5 picks for the WNBA draft were all from UConn.
Top three.
It's top three, okay. I knew it was
Yep.
something.
The first
The
three.
first
The
three
first three
picks.
picks were all UConn
I
players.
mean, it's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
It's.
That's so
I
stupid.
mean, the only thing that would rival that maybe would be like Alabama in the first round of the NFL draft, but even still, that wasn't the
well,
top
you had
three.
you had John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins go 1-2 in the men's, but they didn't even win the title, did they?
No. John Wall and Boogie. I thought Boogie was like number 5 or something.
Was
I
he?
think
Did I just mess that
I think
up?
you mess it up. I think
Oh,
Boogie
well.
fell because of.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, I think Boogie fell to the Kings because the Kings. You have to give the Kings a little bit of credit because like they never picked number 1 or number 2, but that's gonna change soon. But I think they picked him number 5 because a lot of people didn't like his character, but they thought he could be the best talent in the draft, which
Is arguably
which is
true.
arguably true. But back to the coaching question.
Yeah.
I would love to put Gino
Number 4.
there. I just can't. I can't seem to put him there because
See, and that's my question. Because even though they don't have a ton of competition, they have 5 or 6 or even 7 quality opponents every year, and they never lose. You can't say that about any other team. You can have a team in college football that plays in a nobody conference that has an easy schedule, and they'll probably lose a game.
see, and I think that's another reason why I'm not putting him there. Is not necessarily that it's just like women's sports, but I think it's just college basketball because
You don't see any men's teams going on this kind of streak.
no, you don't.
But I guess the level of competition is much higher in that sport.
Well, there's a lot more men that go to play.
It's deeper.
It's
Yeah,
deeper.
it's
exactly.
deeper.
And I mean that's because I wouldn't put Calipari in this list. I
No.
mean,
Oh no, if my debate for number 4 right now is between Gino and Coach K.
that would be the only. See, and I don't even.
I think I'd put Gino. I think you
would-
have to respect the level of dominance.
See,
but
I don't
I
even-
love Coach K.
I love Coach
It's
K
tough
too,
not to put him there.
but I guess I didn't factor in the Olympics. His Olympic resume.
Yeah, that has to factor in
'cause
too.
otherwise
But
I
I
would
mean,
say,
how since he
Yeah.
took over was when they actually started putting pro players in. I feel like I could coach those teams and win.
well, it's just all managing personalities, and honestly, he has so much wherewithal. in basketball circles, like so much clout that I mean he could get
Yeah, but how
anybody in
much do you
check.
have to manage? I feel like it's like an all-star game.
It,
You don't really have to manage
I
personalities. You
mean,
just let guys go have
it pretty
fun.
much
Make sure
is,
everyone gets
yeah.
their minutes. The talent level is so different that you don't even really have to worry about schemes and matchups. You just put 5 players on, make sure you rotate so everyone gets their minutes and tell them to go have fun.
And I mean, wasn't like Popovich his assistant coach or something ridiculous for the Olympic teams?
I don't think so. Unless I'm not remembering that. That doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, because I know somebody was his assistant coach, and it was like, wow, if he's your assistant coach, like, what is his coaching staff? It's like everybody who are like big names.
Hmm. Didn't Brad Stevens coach on that staff
I think
this last
this
year?
year he probably did.
I don't know. Whatever.
Anyway, that's us being bad at our jobs.
Okay, so anyway, give me an answer.
Man, so active coaches, right?
Active, yeah. Because if we're not going active, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
I
true.
would I would put several coaches above Gino. I may not put anyone above the other three, but I would put some over Gino, like
Jeff Fisher.
oh well, now I have to think about it. Phil Jackson probably. Uh, hmm. Wooden probably.
Yeah. Don't
Anyway,
don't slouch on Jeff Fisher though either. He belongs in this conversation.
don't. Jeff Fisher stole so much money from the NFL. It's ridiculous. Well, I guess not from the NFL, from the owners. People just kept thinking he was a good coach, and he kept letting them
Hey,
believe it.
some of those owners deserved it.
Uh, Cronky,
Yeah,
go to
one in
hell.
particular. Hey, I didn't say that. I'm not jumping on the guy that much, but he did stab me in the back. But that's okay. That's okay.
All right. I don't think you ever made a selection,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna
I
press you
kind of
to
dodged that.
right now. We need to hurry up too, because we're going pretty far in time, and we still have a topic I want to get to.
I I'd have to go Coach K. At first, I was gonna say Gino, but I was gonna put Gino
And
above
it
Coach K. But the Olympics kind of swayed me a little bit.
well, and it may be me over
Because I was trying to think
over
baseball as
overcompensating
well,
for yeah,
but there's
yeah.
nobody that comes to mind right now that's on such a run of dominance.
No.
Like in the past, you could
There's
have a few names, but they've all since retired, and we're kind of on that next wave of managers. But I don't
yeah, all right. So my top 4 are just to recap,
know.
my top 4 are you want to order them?
Yeah, order them.
That's fun.
Order them.
I'm going to order them. Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, Popovich, Gino.
Do you want my order now?
Well, obviously.
Okay. So I would go number 1, Nick Saban. 2, Belichick. 3, gotta give it to Pop. And 4, gotta go Coach K.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
So
Take us
you have a
take
topic.
us to our last topic. Oh, am I should I mean, I guess this was my
I mean,
addition.
this. I know how passionate you are about this subject. Attention, ladies and gentlemen. My co-host, Mr. Bradley here, is very, very, very passionate about this subject. Almost to the point, actually to the point, that he texted me about this subject while I was recovering and was in awe of what this person did. What this guy did. And we kind of had an agreement to try to make this podcast a little organic and not talk as much sports in our free time. And this was just so out of this world that He couldn't help himself.
Excellent choice of
Thanks,
words.
man. Thank
Excellent
you.
choice of words.
Take it away.
Kyrie. Kyrie Irving. What the hell is wrong with you? Are you serious? You're gonna say, I guess it was on a podcast, so maybe he thought no one listened to the Channing Frye podcast. You're gonna say that the earth is flat and anyone who disagrees with you should do their own research because you've done the research. Let me tell you a secret. You obviously haven't done the research. Because if you had, you would know that we literally have satellites that go in a circle around the planet. How do you think that works if the Earth is flat? You think it just goes along the face of the Earth? Haven't you ever been on a plane that went
I mean,
to
I
Asia
believe he was quoted
and then
in
came
saying that
the
he was
other
on a
way?
flight.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry.
I believe he was quoted as saying he was on a flight, and this is when he discovered that the world was flat.
Jesus. Oh my God. The reason that it looks flat when you're up in the air is because the curvature of the Earth is so minuscule from that perspective that it can't be perceived by the human eye. How are you so stupid? And the reason that this pisses me off so much is that you have thousands of young boys and girls who look up to good old Uncle Drew and they hear him say garbage like this. I'm going to call it garbage because ignorance is garbage and it's part of what's wrong with our society right now. But we don't have to get into all that. You spew this trash that little kids see, and all of a sudden, they're little kids. They're not going to go do their own research. They're not going to Google, is the Earth flat? It's going to say, no, you idiot, it's round. We have stuff that goes all the way around it. We've sent stuff to space. We've sent people to space who can turn around and see, oh yeah, that's a sphere. Oh gosh, I'm getting too carried away in this tangent. So these little kids who are too young
Just give me a moment.
to go look it up on
I'm
their own,
Googling,
just
is
take
the Earth
what you
flat?
say as fact. And all of a sudden, you've convinced thousands of kids something that's an incorrect fact. It's not true. It makes me angry. And he also went on to say stuff like, the moon landing was fake, which, if you've ever heard an interview of Buzz Aldrin, I think you'd be pretty convinced that it wasn't fake. He said one other...
Out of
how
this,
could I forget?
Out of this world.
How could I
out
forget?
Of this world. I set you up with a perfect segue and you forgot?
How could I forget? Well, because I actually have more of a problem with the Earth is flat than this one.
Okay.
Because at least this, you can come up with a conspiracy theory. The Earth is flat is just asinine. It's ridiculous. It makes him look like a damn fool. Anyway, it's supposed to be a family-friendly show. I apologize for the swearing.
So, good job. Good job.
He says that aliens are real. And the proof that we have of that is because we have alien movies. And where else would we have had inspiration for alien movies if we had not had contact with alien life forms? Let me tell you a secret, Kyrie. Because we know you're listening.
And Kyrie, feel free to come on the podcast and defend yourself anytime. Just hit us up
you know
at
what?
the Rollout show.
You come to the podcast, I'll admit you're right. Okay? You come on the podcast, I'll tell you were right all along.
And Kyrie, I think you're right.
I would never sacrifice my humanity, my intelligence, my dignity for that kind of nonsense. You went to Duke. Granted, you probably didn't go to classes.
Probably not.
You probably slacked. If I was in your situation, I wouldn't go to classes. You kidding me? I'm about to get paid. What do I need to study for? Just go shoot some hoops.
Just go practice.
Anyway, practice. Is that a good Allen Iverson? No, I don't
It
think
worked
so.
all right. I thought mine was better, but I'm glad you backed
I
me
actually agree.
up. Thanks, man.
I agree. Do you agree with how angry I'm getting on this particular subject?
I mean, I can see...
Because I feel like you just don't care as much.
I could see your passion here, and I was just letting you go, because, I mean, you had this...
I appreciate
you had this
that.
built up.
I needed that moment.
I could tell.
I've been waiting on this for like a week and a half.
I'm glad we saved this for towards the end of the show. But, I mean, see, I agree with you. I mean, I don't think the world is flat. I don't. I was...
Wait. Freeze.
Yes.
Let's revise that statement, please. You don't think the Earth is flat? Can you please say that a little bit more assertively so that I actually believe you?
See, I'm not sure, but in my personal opinion, I do not believe that the Earth is flat, at least from what I have been told.
Weston.
Yeah? Was that more assuring and committal for you?
You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to edit you out of this podcast. It's just going to be me responding to nobody.
That honestly, that would be a funny podcast, but it would also be
maybe a bonus episode.
That'd be super annoying. And then we could release one episode where I'm just hosting and then just giving my take, and then there's nothing else, and it's just these awkwardly long pauses where you like go off on a tangent, and I'm like, yeah, you know, Kyrie, he's got some work to do, or something like that, and then on to like the Knicks or something, because the next scandal's gonna happen soon. But
oh my god.
I mean, I don't know. I'm with you.
This doesn't grind your gears like it grinds mine?
Probably not as much as it grinds your gears, but I've almost come more to expect it. The one that really hurt me was when B.O.B. really went on this rant, because you know my adoration
But what's
for
the
B.O.B.
difference?
Well,
what's the difference in terms of like a societal perspective?
For a societal...
If anything, I think Kyrie's worse.
Kyrie is worse.
Because the NBA has a younger demographic. Excuse me.
Yeah.
A younger demographic than B.O.B. does.
I mean, I agree with you on that. It's just that it's almost like B.O.B. broke the ground on this, because he was the first kind of, you know, celebrity
Idiot.
that was out there that's just like adamant that the Earth is flat. So it's like so
Let me tell you a secret,
in him.
B.O.B. It's not. It's not flat, and you're an idiot.
Also, B.O.B.
The Earth isn't flat.
I'm a huge B.O.B. fan. Huge fan of Bobby Ray.
So if you want to come on the pod,
please come on the podcast.
Just hit us up at the Rollout Show. That's
We'll have you, Kyrie on. We'll have a nice big chat. We'll all talk it out, and then, you know, if we're lucky enough, we'll get Neil deGrasse Tyson on. But, you know,
maybe he can do some physics and explain to you why you're both morons.
And him and Bradley will talk physics, and I'll talk rap and basketball with B.O.B. and Kyrie. And then Bradley and Neil deGrasse Tyson will just have their own conversation.
Can we get Neil deGrasse Tyson on the show? That'd be awesome.
I'm gonna see what my
what
my PR marketing magic can do. I mean, I'm gonna give it like a 95% chance of not happening, but you know, we are talking about me here, and I'm kind of like the best in the business, so.
Yeah, that's why episode 1 has like 6 downloads. Great job.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere. At least it's better than 0 downloads.
Well, I downloaded it twice.
And I didn't download it at all, so here we go. There it is.
That's the Rollout Show, everybody.
That would be a good way to end it. Just that I didn't download it at all.
I think we're done.
I think we are done.
We're out of topics. End it. Take us out.
All right, everybody. Don't be like me. Actually download our podcast. Please reach out to us. I'm going to be more active. I apologize for the medical inconveniences I've had, but I will be more active on social media, so be sure to respond to us, tweet at us, follow us at The Rollout Show. We have a YouTube channel, at The Rollout Show. feel free to send us an email, rolloutshow@gmail.com. Just be sure to download our podcast, listen to us, and thank you for your support. And we'll see you next week. And Bradley, do you have anything to add?
No, you did a pretty good job. Come back next week, unless Weston has to have surgery again, which would really
That would
suck
really suck.
for the
That
show.
would be terrible.
Oh yeah, for you too.
Yeah,
But definitely for the show.
thanks for putting medical issues on the back seat and actually thinking about the show. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
All right, guys. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. Be sure to interact with us. This has been episode 2 of The Rollout Show. Rollout.
Is that gonna be your new
I don't know.
your new call sign?